So, last time, we woke up a warlord, there were a few explosions, we probed the prostates of the prostates, metaphorically, then Francis died, and so did the run. But now that the beta has been released, and a few bug fixes have been made, it's as good a time as any to start a new run, see what new changes have been made to items and enemies. As you've seen, I don't know much about Russian, so going slower and more in depth is likely the wiser approach. Oh, right, we've seen this before, so
Tears, blood, happiness, sword, liberation, fate, last judgment, profiting, dawn, sun.
diapause, text clad, low on supplies, civ res attack. Okay, now we can begin. For the tutorial, we play Frank, who, after being told how to move and touch things, retrieves his gear. It's a basic gun and bullets, some meds, and some clothing. Then she tutorializes us on injury by fracturing our leg. To simplify, every hit you take has a chance to inflict an injury, the chance becoming higher the harder the hit is. Each injury makes you weaker in some way and often damages you further. To patch yourself up, you need to use the correct item for the correct wound type, bandages for cut and pierce wounds, splints for fractures, and so on. Not only to stabilize the wound and restore your own health, but also to maximize your chance of healing the wound. Also, when you get wounds, you get an infection. If it climbs too high, you're gonna die. Treat your wounds soon as possible, take certain meds, or prepare to amputate. Thankfully, we don't need all that. As we advance into the treatment room, we're greeted by our first enemy. Ordinary coal node of the civil resistance cell does all the dirty work. That clothing won't protect us much more than it did her, but it's still better than what we're wearing right now. Good thing we killed her before she got a shot off too. Women have 10 fewer hit points than men but get an extra action. While they've got a much bigger health pool than low tier enemies, 2 shot shells can still drain that pretty fast. Especially since none of our clothing can protect us against bullets. Anyway, down to the arsenal. Here, Jane tells us about how some armors protect against some damage types and not others, and reminds us to reload our gun. She also introduces us to cover and explosive barrels. They're barrels that explode. First she was telling us how to move, and now this. Does diapause cause brain damage in this setting? Anyway, with the raiders roasted, we loot the bodies for ammo and head to the final floor, the engine room. Here, Jane tells us about grenades, landmines, and automated turrets. Though she says they're out to blow up our engines, I think the raiders only attack us. We are standing in the way after all, but our cover advantage means this fight, like before, is relatively easy. Also, like before, Frank wants to do that. But before that, let's talk a bit about what civil resistance is. Put simply, they're the remnants of militaries that opposed the great anarchist revolution and lost. Through unknown means, they unlocked a technology that shuts off part of their mind but gives them an edge in battle. Now they fight the megacorps of the anarchist system, trying to turn the world back to a system of government that existed pre-revolution. In other words, they're a bunch of terrorists, and the few people who will care about us attacking them are too piss weak to do anything about it. So, sure Frank, let's get that taste of revenge. And as silly as it may seem, I think we'll be okay with just this. One important consumable to look out for is water, found in toilets, sinks, and coolers. Bottles of water are great to extinguish yourself if you're on fire, or to drink to recover health faster than normal. Sadly, this healing is no longer instant, but health restoration is still health restoration. After taking some hydration, we search the room north for some bits and bobs before we encounter... Low-wage workers make up the largest group of employees in mining or production plants. Being terrorists, civil resistance naturally looks to appeal to the downtrodden, who might have an interest in destroying the system too. So these are probably recruits. That one didn't have a gun, but, well... After a bit more wandering to the east, we double back and find new enemies. Maybe they happen to be patrolling here, or else notice something amiss. One new thing added in the update was changes to how the AI behaves, including patrols. Anyway, heading south reveals some stairs we can use to get closer to the control center. The elevator's being guarded by turrets, so we head down this way. And from the warehouse level, it's a quick journey and 2 murders to the control center floor. Oh, hello there. I very intelligently don't check the minimap, instead heading west and then north to see... oh boy. A field doctor who provides first aid services to lower-ranking corporation employees in the field. After starting a fight, I turn my back on the room full of enemies to check behind me, very intelligently waiting for them to come first. Ouch. I somehow don't die, likely because no one here has an SMG, and now I've got to patch up my wounds. The update lets one use plastic as a makeshift splint, better than nothing, but only just, with a measly 20% base healing chance. I spend a while searching the room, even finding a helper backpack for an extra weapon slot, then I head to the next room over and... oh good, this one's got a charge. We got off easy this time, folks. After raiding that room, I head east and... one of the strange members of the civil resistance, who devoted his whole life to their struggle. These are the coal nodes I remember, clad in people's front and wielding the high-capacity red Outcast ARs. Still susceptible to corner camping, despite having 2 action points. Anyway, then we wait out the enemy and try... Okay! Shoot her, shoot him, pray, shoot again, and now we can start wound treatment. Thankfully no one else tries to interrupt me with a saw. From there I reach the server room, snag a mine chip, blast down my objective, and exfiltrate. Again like before, we retrieved a special database containing info on Quasimorphosis. We could do as Jane says and head to Mars straight away, but there's 2 contracts available on Phobos we could take first. While some players like to favor one company in particular so they can unlock trading with them, I prefer to simply side with whoever's got less power, so I can keep as many factions active as possible as the game progresses. With that in mind, we head off to steal a prototype from Coreward MG's Canan Terminal. My first go at this is relatively brief. The Hydra 12 Francis brought with him makes short work of the trainees and workers that are present. and he's eventually able to trade up to a Storm TT. He even finds an item chip on the first floor. We can't extract until we've completed our mission or found something valuable like this. This time I decide to quit while I'm ahead. I probably won't ever craft these unless I find enemies that use poison, but I figure it's better to have this recipe than not. Second run through, I snag a Liberator from a foe and clean house with it pretty well. Oh, alongside workers and trainees are these folks. Security service specialists are the watchdogs of their corporations. They're willing to go to great lengths to not have to hunch over assembly lines or descend deep into the ground in mining stations. One of these specialists breaks my leg, but I've got a splint. Then I proceed east and pick up an AZ-96. It fires the same bullet as the Liberator, but faster and better. And luck must be with me because I find not only another item chip, but also another mine chip. And third try. To the south I find more workers, but then I run into a small pack of ARs, autonomous robots. A service machine that is used by corporations where living workers cannot be used. Robots are more expensive than humans, so corporations that care about profit margins only use them where it's necessary. They're tougher than most humans, but tragically lack guns, making them very easy to kite. And a little more corner camping lets me head to the next room in the west. And that was it. South of there is a jammer. It prevents the minimap from displaying anything until it's destroyed. But with a level pretty much cleared out, heading to the elevator down is pretty easy anyway. After taking the elevator, I head south to clear out some more foes, then north, firing one shot instead of a burst, and that sees me wounded. Luckily I've got a bandage. And from there, I head back to the elevator to see I've got people waiting for me. But with a little trickery and an axe, I'm able to make it to exfil. We exchange the worst for the bad, of course, but this is honest work. For our trouble, we get a cool pistol, a chip that lets us produce another cool pistol, an armor crate, and some ammo. It's now I pick the time to actually upgrade our ship with a fabricator. Apparently one corporation tried to charge a fee for producing items in this way, but they didn't even last a week afterwards. We've only just completed our third mission, but we're already off to a pretty good start. But of course we're not going to stop there. After all, we still need to get that data to ANCOM, not to mention see what else the solar system has to offer. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications so you can see when I've got my next video out. Have a good day!